All right, so first thing we're gonna be dealing with is our seatbelt. Welcome to Flagstaff. So not worn, torn, or frayed. Latches properly and unlatches properly and securely. All right, the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm actually going to do a safe start. So make sure that it's in neutral. My clutch is always all the way down to the clutch brake. I'm going to go ahead and turn it to the ACC position. I'm going to watch for my ABS light to come on and then go off, which it did. Waiting for my gauges to adjust while the system does a diagnostic. Once that's completed, I'm going to go ahead and continue. Start. Come slowly off on the clutch so that if I had forgotten somehow and left it in gear, it's not going to be jerking and going all over the place. So for me, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to stick with just my display. All right. So I'm going to talk about my oil pressure first. The operating range for that should be between 35 and 75. Go right down that to the water, and I'm just going to go up by another 100. So this went from 35 to 75. This starts at 175 to 210. All right. We're then going to go across to the middle, where we got a really high voltage at the moment. It should be between 12 and 14. Right now it's at 13.9. Well, it's pretty open. It's okay. Now I like referencing this between 12 and 14 because if I add a 0 to each of those, then I've got my primary and secondary air tanks, which are 120 to 140. So 12 to 14, 120 to 140, just adding to 0. Okay. As my air pressure builds up, it should build up between 85 and 100 within 45 seconds, telling me my air compressor is working correctly. At this point, we're pretty much all the way up on air pressure. Governor hasn't gone off, or it may already have. We'll have to figure that out in a little bit. So, done my gauges. I'm going to save my service brake air pressure test once I actually start doing the test. But sticking with my gauges now, I'm going to actually start dealing with my left turn signal, my right turn signal, my four-ways, my high beams, which are functioning. Now I'm using that same lever to talk about my wiper blades. My wiper blades are functioning properly. They're not worn, torn, or frayed. And if I push in, we get fluid coming on to our windshield, which is going to prove that my wiper blades are actually flush to my windshield. Speaking of my windshield's been properly inspected. It's properly sealed. It's not worn, torn, or frayed. It's got no holes, no cracks that are larger than the size of a quarter. It's got no illegal stickers that are going to block my view. Speaking of view, I've got my hood mirrors, which are clear and clean and properly adjusted, not mounted correctly. I've got my door mirrors, which are clear and clean, properly mounted, and all my mirrors now are adjusted to me so that I can see the truck and trailer properly. As I come into the cab again, I'm going to hook my horn on the out for my highway and my city horn. Now on the rest of my in-cab, all I have is my heater and defroster. I'm just going to go put it on the double for heater and defroster. That way I can check defrost. I can check heater. Both are functioning. Now I can check that my splitter is working correctly. My boot is on securely, so I'm not getting any exhaust coming into the cab. And I've got my floorboard that's clean of debris, so nothing's going to get between my pedals. Now I've completed my in-cab.